The stranger moved in on a Monday, and by Friday he knew how my wife slept. I worked the night shift at the hospital, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., 5 days a week. It's good money, and Sarah's always been fine with it. We've had our routine for 3 years. I leave at 10:30, she locks up behind me, and I come home to find her making breakfast. Safe, predictable, normal. Until the stranger next door made a comment that shattered everything. I was getting my mail on Saturday morning when he approached. Tall, maybe mid-40s, with a forgettable face except for his eyes. Too attentive, too knowing. "Your wife looks beautiful when she sleeps," he said. Casual, like commenting on the weather. I froze, mail in hand. "What did you say?" "Sarah, she's lovely, very peaceful. On her left side, usually. Hand under the pillow. Sometimes she kicks the covers off around 2 a.m. My blood turned to ice. "How the fuck do you know that?" He smiled. Not threatening, almost sad. "I know a lot of things, David. More than I should. Your houses share a wall. Sound travels. You'd be surprised what you can hear. We don't share a bedroom wall with you, don't we?" He tilted his head. "Check your property survey, the bedroom wall. It's thinner than you think." He walked back to his house, leaving me standing there with a handful of mail and 1,000 questions screaming in my mind. That night I didn't go to work. Called in sick, stayed home, sat in the dark bedroom watching Sarah sleep, watching our walls, waiting for I don't know what. Nothing happened. She slept normally, peacefully, on her left side, hand under the pillow, exactly as the stranger had described. At 2:07 a.m., still asleep, she kicked the covers off, just like he said she would. I checked every inch of our bedroom. No cameras, no holes in the walls, no way anyone could see inside. The window blinds were closed, the door was locked. But the stranger next door knew details no one should know, intimate details, private details. And when I went to work Monday night, leaving Sarah alone in our house, I couldn't stop thinking, what else does he see when I'm not here? What else does he know? And why does he know how beautiful my wife looks when she's most vulnerable? Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to the channel and leave your like, because the ending of this story will shake you in ways you never imagined. And tell me in the comments, from which city are you watching this story? Now, let's begin. I started documenting everything the stranger, Marcus I'd learned his name was, said about Sarah, every impossible detail he shouldn't know. Day 3. Sarah had trouble sleeping last night. The storm kept her up. She was awake until 3:15. There had been a storm. Sarah had been restless. But how did he know she'd been awake until exactly 3:15? Day 5. She's been having those dreams again, the ones about drowning. She woke up gasping at 1:47. I came home and asked Sarah, "Did you have a nightmare last night?" "How did you know?" "I had that drowning dream again, woke up around 1:30, I think." 1:47. Marcus had been precise to the minute. Day 8. You should check on Sarah. She's been crying for 20 minutes. Started at 11:32. It was 11:54 p.m. I was at work. I called home immediately. Sarah answered, voice thick with tears. "How did you know?" she asked. "Know what?" "That I was crying. I got some bad news about my mum's health. Started crying right around 11:30. How did you know to call?" I didn't tell her about Marcus. Didn't tell her that a stranger next door was monitoring her emotional states in real time while I was away. Day 12. Sarah sleeps on your side of the bed when you're at work. Clutches your pillow. She misses you. That night I came home early. Quietly opened the bedroom door at 3 a.m. Sarah was on my side of the bed, my pillow held tight against her chest. Marcus was right. Again. Always right. I confronted him the next morning. "How are you doing this? Cameras? Are you hacking our phones? Some kind of surveillance?" He looked at me with those two knowing eyes. "I don't need cameras, David. I can see her. Right now, in fact. She's making coffee, French press. She's wearing your old college sweatshirt, the blue one. She just burned her tongue on the first sip." I pulled out my phone, called Sarah. Hey, are you okay? Yeah, why? Oh, I just burned my tongue on my coffee like an idiot. How did you see me somehow? I hung up, stared at Marcus. What are you? I'm someone who can see through walls, through dimensions, through the barriers that separate us, and I see your wife, David, every night when you leave her alone. I hired a private investigator, former police detective, 20 years experience, specialized in stalking cases. I need you to monitor my house, my wife, and the man next door. I think he's watching her somehow. I need to know how. Detective Ramirez set up surveillance, cameras on Marcus's house, thermal imaging, audio equipment, 3 days of constant monitoring. His report was impossible. Mr. Harrison, I don't know how to tell you this. Marcus Chen doesn't leave his house at night. Not once. His lights go off at 10 p.m. Thermal imaging shows him in his bedroom, apparently sleeping until 6 a.m. He's not watching your house from windows. He's not using drones or cameras. I swept your property. There's nothing. Then how does he know these things? I don't know. But David, there's something else, something strange. He showed me thermal imaging from 2:47 a.m. 2 nights ago. My house, my bedroom, 2 heat signatures in the bed. Sarah. And someone next to her. That's impossible. I was at work. I know. I have you on camera at the hospital at that time. Time stamped. But the thermal imaging doesn't lie. There were 2 people in your bed that night. Who? The signature it's strange. It's not quite solid. It flickers, like it's not completely there. And when I checked Marcus's house at the same time, he pulled up another image. He was in 2 places at once, in his bed and in yours. I felt sick. What are you saying? I'm saying that Marcus Chen might not be physically entering your home, but he's there. Somehow. Some part of him is with your wife when you're gone. I went home and searched every inch of our bedroom, under the bed, in the closet, behind furniture. Found nothing. But that night, when I left for work, I set up my own camera, hidden, pointing at our bed. At 2:47 a.m. my phone buzzed with a motion alert. The video showed Sarah sleeping, alone, normal, but her expression changed. A small smile. She shifted closer to the empty space beside her, murmured something I couldn't hear, reached out her hand and laid it on the pillow next to her, like she was touching someone who wasn't there, or someone I couldn't see. I left work at 3 a.m. and drove home at dangerous speeds. Burst into the bedroom. Sarah was alone, startled awake by my entrance. David, what's wrong? What are you doing home? Were you dreaming? What? Yes. Why? What about? She looked confused, uncomfortable. I don't remember exactly. Something nice, comforting. Why are you acting like this? I showed her the video. At 2:47 you smiled, you reached out like someone was there. I was dreaming, David. People move in their sleep. What's going on? I told her everything. Marcus, his impossible knowledge. The thermal imaging showing 2 bodies in our bed. The way he knew intimate details about her nights alone. She listened with growing horror, then anger. And you didn't tell me. Someone's been watching me, knowing these things about me, and you kept it secret? I was trying to protect you by letting me sleep alone while some creep watches me. David, what the hell? She was right. I'd prioritized investigating over protecting. I'd left her vulnerable while gathering evidence. We're going to the police, I said. Right now. But at the police station, we hit a wall. No evidence of cameras, no proof of entry, no physical stalking. Just a man who made unsettling comments. Unless he's threatening her or trespassing, there's not much we can do, the officer said. I'd suggest a restraining order, but judges rarely grant them for verbal observations. We came home defeated. Sarah moved into the guest room, said she couldn't sleep in our bed knowing someone was there, watching, or worse. That night, I didn't go to work. I stood guard outside the guest room all night, watching, waiting. At 2:47 a.m. I heard Sarah's voice through the door, soft, affectionate, talking to someone. I burst in. She was alone, eyes closed, sleeping, but her lips were moving, speaking words I couldn't hear clearly. And she looked happy, content, the way she looked when we first fell in love. I shook her awake. "Who were you talking to?" She blinked, confused. "What? I wasn't talking to anyone. I was sleeping. You were speaking. I heard you. I was probably dreaming. David, you're scaring me. You're not sleeping, you're paranoid. This obsession with Marcus isn't healthy." But I knew what I'd heard. She'd been talking to someone, and based on her expression, whoever it was made her happier than I did. I went to Marcus's house at dawn, pounded on his door until he answered. "Stay away from my wife." "I can't." "Why not? What do you want from her?" He invited me inside. I shouldn't have accepted, but I needed answers more than I needed safety. His house was a mirror image of ours. Same layout. But where our house was full of life, photos, furniture, warmth, his was empty, sparse, like no one really lived there. Except for one room, the bedroom that shared a wall with ours. Inside, the wall was covered in photographs, hundreds of them, all of Sarah. Sarah sleeping, Sarah reading, Sarah cooking, Sarah crying, Sarah smiling, every moment, every angle, every expression. But these weren't surveillance photos. They were too intimate, too perfect, taken from impossible angles. Some from above, like a bird's perspective. Some from beside her, inches away. Some from angles that should have required the photographer to be inside her skin. "What the fuck is this?" "Memories," Marcus said quietly, "of my wife. Sarah is my wife. She's my wife too, in another timeline. Another reality. I'm from a dimension adjacent to yours, a world where Sarah and I married, where we had 10 years together before she died. Car accident, drunk driver. She died in my arms at 2:47 a.m. You're insane. Am I? Then how do I know she sleeps on her left side? How do I know about the drowning dreams she's had since childhood? How do I know she wears your sweatshirt when you're gone because she misses you? I know because I lived with her, loved her, lost her. In another dimension. You expect me to believe that?" He pulled out a photograph, different from the others, older, yellowed. It showed Marcus and Sarah at a wedding. His wedding. But Sarah looked wrong. Older than she should be, different hairstyle, different dress than the one she'd worn at our wedding. "This is from my timeline, my wedding day. 10 years ago in my world. Here, you married her instead. You got the years I lost, the life I never had, and every night when the barriers between dimensions thin, I cross over, visit her, watch over her, be with the woman I never stopped loving. You're visiting my wife every night when I'm at work. I'm visiting my wife, who happens to share her soul with yours. Different timeline, same person. She doesn't know I'm there. Not consciously, but some part of her remembers, some part of her soul recognizes mine. That's why she dreams of me, why she reaches out in her sleep, why she looks happy when I'm beside her. I wanted to hit him, to throw him out, to call him insane, but I couldn't explain the thermal imaging, the impossible knowledge. The way Sarah smiled at 2:47 a.m., the exact time his Sarah had died. "You need to stop. You're not her husband. I am. This is my life, my marriage, my wife. Your life, my wife, or maybe my life, your wife. In infinite timelines, there are infinite versions of us. In some, she's with me. In others, she's with you. In this one, we share her, whether you like it or not." I told Sarah everything Marcus had said. Parallel dimensions, his dead wife, his nightly visits, the wedding photo. She looked at the photo for a long time. "This looks real. He probably photoshopped it. He's delusional, obsessed with you. We need to move. Get away from him." "David, I've been having these dreams for weeks now, since he moved in. Dreams where I'm married to someone else, a different life, and in those dreams I'm happy, really happy, and I wake up feeling like I've lost something important." My stomach dropped. "Are you saying you believe him?" "I'm saying I don't know what to believe, but something about what he's saying feels familiar, like remembering something from childhood, vague but real. He's manipulating you, probably drugging you somehow. making you susceptible to suggestion. Then why do I remember things from his timeline, things I shouldn't know? Last night I dreamed about a house I've never been to, but I knew every room, every detail. I knew where the coffee mugs were kept, where the garden was, what color the bedroom walls were. And this morning I drew it, from memory. She showed me the drawing. A house I'd never seen, but detailed, specific, real. I asked Marcus about it, she continued. That was his house, in his timeline, the house he shared with his Sarah. I drew it perfectly. Rooms I've never seen. How did I know, David? How? You're suggesting what? That you're his wife reincarnated, that you share a soul across dimensions. I'm suggesting that maybe reality is more complicated than we thought. Maybe people can love each other across different worlds. Maybe I loved him once, in another life, and some part of me remembers. So what? You want to be with him? Leave me for a ghost from another dimension? No, I love you. This life, our marriage. But I can't deny that when I dream of him, I feel complete, like a part of me I didn't know was missing is there. And I don't know what to do with that. Neither did I. That night, I went to work, left Sarah alone, came home to find her crying. He was here, she said. I couldn't see him, but I felt him beside me, holding me. And David, it felt so real, more real than anything, like he was more solid than you are, more present. How is that possible? It's not. He's gaslighting you, manipulating you, making you feel things that aren't real. Or maybe he's making me remember things that are. I stopped going to work, stayed home every night, watching, protecting, making sure Marcus couldn't visit Sarah, couldn't corrupt her mind further. But on the third night at 2:47 a.m., Sarah sat up in bed, eyes open but unseeing. She got up, walked to the window, opened it. Sarah, what are you doing? She didn't respond, stared out at Marcus's house. And I saw him, in his window. Staring back, they were looking at each other, across the distance, across dimensions, connected by something I couldn't see or understand. Sarah, close the window. Come back to bed. She spoke, but not to me. I remember now. I remember everything. The house, the garden, the way you made coffee, the night we got married, the accident. I remember dying in your arms. Sarah, you didn't die. You're here, with me. That's not your memory. He's putting it in your head. No, I'm remembering. And David, in that life I was so happy, we were so happy. And then I died and I woke up here in this life with you, and I've been happy here too, but incomplete, like I was grieving something I couldn't name. This is insane. He's manipulating you. She finally looked at me, tears streaming down her face. I love you, I do. But I loved him first, in another life, in another world, and I never got to say goodbye. I never got to tell him I loved him one more time. So say it. Say it right now and be done with it. Then we move on, together in this life, the only life that matters. She looked back at Marcus, across the distance, across dimensions, and she whispered, I love you. I never stopped loving you. But I have to stay here. This is my life now with David. I'm sorry. Marcus nodded, slowly, like he'd expected this, like he'd known all along. Then he disappeared, not walked away. Disappeared, faded like mist. And Sarah collapsed. I caught her, held her while she sobbed, mourning a husband from another life, grieving a love that had crossed dimensions and still couldn't survive. Marcus's house was empty the next day, not just unoccupied, empty, no furniture, no photos, no evidence anyone had lived there. The realtor said it had been vacant for 6 months. No one named Marcus Chen had rented or owned it. But I saw him. I talked to him. He's been living there for 3 weeks. I don't know what to tell you, sir. The property has been empty since the last owners moved out in March. We've had some people view it, but no one's lived there. I showed her photos I'd taken of Marcus. She looked at them, confused. These pictures are of an empty house. There's no one in them. But there was. I could see him in every photo, clear as day. Sarah couldn't see him either. When I showed her the photos, she just saw empty rooms. David, I think you need to talk to someone. A therapist. This obsession, it's not healthy. I'm not imagining him. He was real. He talked to you. You said goodbye to him. I said goodbye to a dream. A memory from a life I'm not sure I lived. But there was never anyone next door, David. We both know that now. But I knew what I'd seen. Who I'd talked to. The man who'd crossed dimensions to be with his lost wife. Over the following weeks, Sarah changed. The dreams stopped. The midnight wake-ups at 2:47 a.m. ceased. She slept peacefully, completely. Like a part of her that had been restless finally found peace. I feel better, she told me. Like I've healed from something. I don't know what, but I feel whole now. I should have felt relieved, but I didn't, because I knew the truth. Marcus had been real, and his love for Sarah had been real, and for 3 weeks I'd shared my wife with a ghost from another dimension, and some part of her had loved him back. 6 months passed. Life returned to normal. I went back to night shifts. Sarah slept peacefully. No more dreams, no more reaching out for invisible companions, until one night my phone rang at 2:47 a.m. Unknown number. Hello? David, Marcus's voice. I need your help. You're supposed to be gone, back to your dimension, away from us. I have been, but something's wrong. Sarah's in danger, in both timelines, mine and yours. What are you talking about? The drunk driver who killed my Sarah, he exists in your timeline too, same person, same night. He's going to hit her car tomorrow at the intersection of 5th and Maple at 2:47 p.m., unless you stop her from being there. How do you know this? Because it's happening in multiple timelines. I've been tracking him across dimensional barriers. He's a fixed point, a constant. He causes the accident in every reality. I couldn't save my Sarah, but I can save yours, if you listen to me. Why should I believe you? Because at 2:47 a.m., Sarah just woke up. She's going to the bathroom. She'll stub her toe on the dresser, small thing, meaningless. But I see it happening right now, check. I pulled up the camera I'd kept in our bedroom. Just as Marcus said, Sarah had just woken up, was walking to the bathroom, stubbed her toe on the dresser exactly as he'd predicted. I'm watching over her, David. I never stopped, even from another dimension, because I love her, and so do you. So tomorrow, keep her home. Keep her away from that intersection. At 2:47 p.m., save her for both of us. He hung up. I sat in the hospital break room, shaking. I could ignore him, call him crazy, pretend the conversation never happened, or I could trust that a man from another dimension who'd loved my wife in another life was trying to save her in this one. I called Sarah at noon. Don't leave the house today. Please, I know it sounds crazy, but trust me. David, I have errands. I need to pick up groceries, go to the pharmacy. Please, just today, stay home. I'll explain tonight. This is about Marcus, isn't it? David, we talked about this. He wasn't real. You need to let this go. Just stay home, please, for me. She agreed, frustrated but compliant. At 2:30 p.m. she texted, I have to go out. We're out of Emma's medication. The pharmacy closes at 5. I'll be quick. My blood went cold. The pharmacy was at 5th and Maple, the intersection Marcus had warned about. I called her. No answer. Texted, don't go to the pharmacy. I'll get it after work, please. No response. I left work. Drove toward 5th and Maple, got stuck in traffic, watched the clock tick toward 2:47 p.m., 2:45 p.m., 2 minutes. I was 3 blocks away, could see the intersection ahead. 2:46 p.m., 1 minute. I laid on the horn, ran a red light, drove onto the sidewalk. 2:47 p.m., I reached the intersection just in time to see the drunk driver run the red light. Saw him swerve, saw him collide with empty space. No car, no Sarah. The drunk driver hit a telephone pole instead. Massive crash. His car was destroyed, but Sarah wasn't there. My phone rang. Sarah. David. Where are you? You sound out of breath. Where are you? Home. I decided you were right. The medication can wait. I'm making dinner. Are you okay? You sound panicked. I looked at the crash scene. Police arriving. Ambulance. The drunk driver being pulled from his wrecked car. Sarah should have been there. Should have been hit. Should have died at 2:47 p.m., but she wasn't. Because Marcus had warned me. Because I'd convinced her to stay home. Because a man from another dimension had saved her life. I drove home in a daze. Found Sarah cooking dinner. Alive. Safe. Unharmed. "Thank you for staying home," I said. "You scared me with how serious you sounded. What was that about?" I couldn't tell her. Couldn't explain that she'd just avoided the accident that had killed her in another timeline. That Marcus was still watching over her. Still protecting her. "Just a feeling," I said. "I'm glad you listened." That night at 2:47 a.m., my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Thank you for saving her. For both of us." Then the number disappeared from my call history, like it had never existed. I never heard from Marcus again, never saw him, never received another call or text. But I understood now. He wasn't a stalker, wasn't a threat. He was a guardian, watching over his wife from another dimension, protecting her in the timeline where she still lived. Sarah never knew how close she'd come to dying that day. Never knew that a version of her husband from another world had saved her life. And I made peace with it, with sharing her, with knowing that somewhere in the multiverse she'd loved someone else. And that somewhere he was still watching, still caring, still loving her from across dimensional barriers. I went back to my night shifts, left Sarah alone in our house, but I wasn't worried anymore, because I knew she wasn't really alone. At 2:47 a.m., when the barriers between dimensions were thinnest, Marcus was there, watching over her, keeping her safe, a guardian from another world who'd crossed impossible distances to protect the woman he loved. Sarah slept peacefully, hand under her pillow, on her left side, sometimes kicking the covers off, beautiful, safe, loved by two men across two realities, and I was okay with that. Because loving Sarah meant accepting all of her, including the parts of her soul that belonged to another timeline, another life, another love. The stranger next door had said my wife looked beautiful sleeping, and he was right, because he'd loved her long before I did, in a world where they'd had forever, until forever ended at 2:47 a.m. Now he spent his forever making sure she survived past that moment in every timeline, every dimension, every possible reality. And I was grateful, because without him I would have lost her too. Some nights I swear I can feel him, a presence in our house, not threatening, protective, watching over us both. The husband from another world and the husband from this one, united in loving the same woman. Sarah stirs in her sleep, smiles, reaches out to touch empty air, and I know she's dreaming of him, of a life she lived in another world, a love that crossed dimensions to save her. And I hold her other hand, anchoring her to this reality. This life, this love, because she belongs to both of us, and that's okay. Some loves are too strong to be confined to a single timeline. Some souls are meant to be loved across infinite realities. The stranger next door knew that, and now, so do I. 5 years later, Sarah and I had a daughter. We named her Grace. On Grace's first birthday, I found a gift on our doorstep. No card, no return address, just a small box wrapped in silver paper. Inside was a photograph. Marcus and his Sarah. His timeline, holding a baby girl, written on the back, Grace, born June 15th, she has her mother's eyes, the same date as our Grace's birthday, the same name we'd chosen without knowing why it felt right. In another timeline, Marcus and his Sarah had a daughter too, and she looked exactly like ours. Sarah found me staring at the photo. Where did this come from? A friend from far away. She looked at the photo, at the baby who could have been ours, at the life that existed in another dimension, and she smiled, sad but accepting. She's beautiful. I hope she's happy, in whatever world she's in. I think she is. I think he made sure of it. We put the photo in Grace's baby book, a reminder that she existed in multiple timelines, loved by parents in different worlds, connected by threads we couldn't see but could feel. And every night at 2:47 a.m., I'd wake up briefly, check on Sarah, check on Grace, and sometimes I'd feel it. A presence, watching, protecting. A father from another dimension making sure his family was safe in this one. Marcus never contacted us again, but I knew he was there, in the spaces between worlds, in the quiet hours of the night, in the moments when coincidences felt like something more. The stranger next door had said my wife looked beautiful sleeping, and now I understood. He'd said it with love, with loss, with the devotion of a man who'd crossed universes to keep her safe. And as I watched Sarah and Grace sleep peacefully, I whispered into the darkness, "Thank you for watching over them, for saving her, for being the father in the shadows when I can't be." I didn't expect an answer, but at 2:47 a.m. Grace's nightlight flickered 3 times, like a signal, an acknowledgement. He was there, still watching, still protecting, still loving them from across impossible distances. And I was grateful, because some families span multiple realities. Some love stories are written across infinite timelines. Some guardians watch from dimensions we can't see. The stranger next door wasn't a threat. He was family, just from another world. And in the quiet hours of the night, when Sarah smiled in her sleep and Grace breathed peacefully, I knew we were all protected. By love that transcended space and time and reality itself. Some neighbors share a fence. We shared a soul, a life, a love that existed in multiple dimensions. And that made us safer than any lock or alarm ever could, because the stranger next door was watching, always watching, making sure his family, our family, survived in every timeline, every dimension, every possible world.